one at a time, and we'll get the job done. Y'all know what to say. On three. 1, 2, 3.
And the home of the Jets.
What is up, everybody? Mr. JetsCentral. What's up, man?
Yo, Tyson, what's good, bro? That intro has me ready to run through a wall.
Right? We're ready. It's like we turn the page, man. No more negativity, no more anger. We're a whole new Jet fan base now, right?
We'll see how long that lasts.
See, look, and you already got positive reinforcement. Oscar, Ian got his mojo back.
What's good, Oscar?
So
yeah, dude, free agency's right around the corner, man.
This is episode 23. Can you believe this already?
It's insane, man. I mean, it's really crazy to think like we literally started this before the season started.
Yep.
And, you know, I don't want to get into 2023, but it was just like the complete mess. But we were like, you know, consistent with it every week. And we kind of just, it's kind of cool going back to those videos, like after like week 4 game or week 5 game, just kind of like seeing where our heads were at and stuff. And I will say this, bro, like after that first game, right, where we beat the Bills, everybody, like me and you, all the comments, everybody was talking about how the New York Jets needed to sign a veteran quarterback that next day, and it never happened.
No, it was a wild roller coaster ride. It was different because like we don't really know each other that well, so we're kind of like trying to feel out how to do the show. But it was like raw emotion, true feelings, and we were being critical but fair. Now, there's been this rumor, dude. We got to get rid of this rumor going around the social media world that I destroyed you and made you negative. Can you dispel that rumor that this was actually the losing and the incompetence of the staff and all the problems that kind of took away your thunder, right?
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So, I mean, to be honest with you, like when I look at the Jets offensive staff, I mean, really, when I look at the organization, like just seeing like the shortcomings from Joe Douglas, the shortcomings from Saleh, the shortcomings or really just the failures of Nathaniel Hackett, and then even continuing to go down the line, like Keith Carter, Todd Downing, the O-line, quarterback. It's just this. And I was actually talking to my mom about this the other day, funny enough. She was just kind of asking me like, you know, how the New York Jets are doing and stuff. And I'm like, it's literally the worst. 2023 was one of the worst seasons, probably the worst season I can ever remember. It was worse than the second year of Adam Gase. And it wasn't just because of, you know, because we had the 7 wins or whatever it was.
Yep.
It wasn't because we were losing every single week. It was because of just the overall incompetence that these guys were running the team with. It was just so frustrating. It was just so disappointing, right? At least with Gase, it's like, okay, it's Adam Gase.
Yeah.
No talent, no O-line, no wide receivers. Like we're really not expecting a whole lot. No pass rushers, not really a ton of depth or quality at, you know, in the secondary outside of like Jamal Adams and Marcus May, I believe at the time.
Yep.
It was kind of like you were expecting a sub 5-win season. But I mean, everybody was talking about a Super Bowl, winning the division. And it's not that the season just didn't go our way. And we've talked about this a lot on these on these podcast episodes, but it was like Joe Douglas enabled it. Like he was fine with the losses.
Yep.
You know, I actually got into like soccer pretty recently, over a year ago. And like if you finish as a bottom 3 team in the Premier League, you get kicked out. You get relegated to the the second tier, which is the championship. And you're replaced by the 3 teams at the top of the championship. And so every year there's a ton of pressure. And so with relegation comes like a loss of, you know, financial. I mean, there's so many different benefits for being in the top league, obviously. But in the NFL, you know, you get rewarded. Oh, here's top picks. Oh, here's, you know, chances are if you're bad, you have a lot of cap space. And it's like, you just kind of feel like the Jets are just operating of like, oh yeah, it's totally fine to lose. Great, we win a game. And that's just going to make up for like the 3 or 4 losses that we have on like weekly basis. So it just seemed like the real lack of urgency, a real lack of fire, intensity. You know, Dan Quinn actually had, and I know I keep rambling here, but Dan Campbell and Mike Vrabel had press conferences at the end of the season where they lost a couple games.
Yep.
They freaking snapped, man. They snapped on the reporter. They snapped just going off about how much they hate losing. And those comments are coming from 2 great coaches in football. And it's like we have yet to see any sort of fire at all when the Jets are just humiliated on a week in, week out basis from Saleh. It's just like, oh, well, they beat us. We got to execute. Didn't do this right. Yep. Oh, well, that type of thing.
Well, and that's what it was. It was like, it was funny because I was watching, like, you're probably the most positive Jet fan I know in terms of content creators, where you're always upbeat, trying to find the bright side of it. But you're seeing incompetence, you're seeing stupid stuff, and you're seeing their culture. And their culture was justifying losing, justifying excuses, and they felt too comfortable. Then the Athletic article comes out, and it's like, you know what? Their goal was 7 wins or 8 wins. I'm like, and they acted like it. Like, everybody wants to dispute the article. Well, it's this, it's that, some exaggeration. A lot of things didn't surprise me because we saw this throughout the season. We saw a lot of this, and we've talked about it. But the way they handle themselves, I thought was inexcusable. In any other year, if Aaron Rodgers wasn't here, they'd be firing everybody. Everybody would be gone. Aaron Rodgers gives them all a pass, but it drives you crazy, dude. And I guess the one thing I got to ask you about, first of all, we got this, a good topic to start off with, is Tyson and Ian. I have a very funny feeling Zach Wilson will still be on the roster after the draft. I feel like they're going to give him one more year and bring him back. I'm going to say I 1,000% disagree. I think he's going to be gone. I think they probably promised him they're going to trade him. He wants to change the scenery. The Jets want to change the scenery. Here's the problem. The entire NFL knows that. So they're not going to give the Jets anything for him. You got to give him draft compensation and inherit his contract too, which is not ideal at all. So articles came out today, maybe a 7th round pick, a 6th round pick. Dude, I think Zach Wilson's got no value whatsoever.
Yeah, and on top of that too, it's like Joe Douglas is going. I mean, is he really going to be? Say we trade him after the draft, or I guess we just keep him as the draft is unfolding, and he's still on the roster. Is Joe Douglas going to trade the guy that he selected at number 2 overall for a future pick? He might not even be the general manager at that point in time. Yep. So that's kind of another dynamic to look at it with.
Well, the other thing too is that the Jets may have to release him, because you think about it this way, it's like you're not going to get any value for him, right? But if you're a team, say you're the Vikings or whoever else, right? Why would you trade for Zach Wilson to be, in theory, your backup quarterback when you can go sign a proven veteran quarterback for whatever, $4 or $5 million a year and no draft compensation, and a guy that's probably better than him? So you're saying you're going to trade him for what? To be potential to compete for a starting job? Like, is that what you're going to try to do with the money he's making? I don't think any team's going to do that.
I think, dude, the only teams that I feel like would formally put in an offer for Zach Wilson are the optimistic, upbeat offensive coaches. So Andy Reid, Sean McVay, Kevin O'Connell, Kyle Shanahan, guys like that can look at Zach and say, really good arm, mobile. He's flashed here and there. He's received horrible coaching, playing behind a horrible offensive line. I can do something with this guy. Because I'm confident in myself. I'm confident in my system. I've developed quarterbacks.
Yeah, but with his contract, though, you have to pick up his 5th-year option then. Would you want to do that with the money he's making?
I'm not saying I would necessarily do that. I'm just saying if there's a team out there, it's not going to be Dan Quinn in Washington, or it's not going to be, throw whatever defensive coordinator out there, right? I just don't see that happening. I think it would have to be, a confident young offensive mind who's looking at just the positives with Zach, and in turn is almost looking at the negatives of the Jets organization. Like, man, they couldn't give him a good offensive line in however many years. They couldn't really supply him any solid wide receivers outside of Garrett.
They would have been better off trading him last year when he had 2 years on his contract left. We had probably a little bit more, and you didn't see him fail in Hackett's system, because now he failed in the floors and Hackett's, and there's probably more questions like, all right, we kind of know what he is now, because now it's like they've catered him, they babied him, and this is what it is. I think they may have to cut him. And I think they want to cut ties. I think there's no way in living hell he's going to be in a facility this year. It can't be. It's just we all got to move on. But it's just, there's no way Joe Douglas is going to look good, dude. I don't think he's going to find any suitors, and it's going to get ugly. So then you go from this article, which was kind of controversial, to, I saw your video. You're the man of many videos with the whole Hackett thing. And this Hackett thing is driving me literally insane, because week in and week out, we saw the problems on offense. Poor communication, pre-snap penalties, terrible route running, terrible concepts, all these different things. Week in and week out, no adjustments. The players talked about it. Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson. We talked about it endlessly. The article comes out and says more about the attention to detail was a problem. Now, keep in mind, Garrett Wilson referenced this during the season. The players are literally talking about it. They were mocking Keith Carter. You see these things in the article, and now it's like, well, you know what? Maybe the Jets are not going to get rid of Hackett because he's best friends with Rodgers. They're going to kind of demote him and make the play calling collaborative. Like, what in the F are we doing here? Like, what is it? Is there is this not insanity, man? Like, just not driving you crazy?
So, bro, you made well, first of all, yeah. So that video that I did, somebody left a comment saying that, man, I wish I was so bad at my job that the company would just hire people to do my job for me and I can just continue to get paid. But no, dude, you made the point. I think it was either the last episode we did or two, the two previous ones. It was recent where you said if this was happening to any other NFL team, they would be fired. If Hackett, say what you want, like you literally look at every single facet of the Jets offense, and it's either horrible or it's barely living up to expectations. But chances are it's horrible. Like literally every one. Penalties, tons of them. Play calling, bad. Game planning, bad. Can't throw, can't run, can't protect the quarterback, can't open up holes in the running game. Free agents not working out. Players regressing. I just can't develop a quarterback. Players openly frustrated. Sauce Gardner, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, failing to adjust. And then, to see all of the, incompetence all season long, and then to say, no, everybody's staying in the same exact positions. And the only thing we're going to do is move on from the running back coach and then Rex Hogan. And we're going to replace them with more Titans coaches. It's like the checklist of being a Jets coaching candidate. You either have to be friends with Rodgers or a Titans coach. That's it.
Yeah, and it makes no sense. And they change, and Jefferson too, the wide receiver coach. But the thing is, so now you're gonna have a collaborative effort with play calling, which is ridiculous. And it just, you look at it, and you're like, there's no accountability here. There's no leadership here. And it's like you're wondering about, okay, Rodgers is gonna save the day. Is he gonna do the line meetings and make the wide receiver coach better? Like, you want Rodgers, they want Rodgers to be the absolute savior of all these things. And the point you keep making over the last month or so is, and we both talked about it, is every other team across the NFL that had a tough time on offense made wholesale changes to their coordinators. The Bills did it in season. It actually paid off for them, worked out for them. The Steelers did it. It worked out for them. The Eagles blew up their entire staff. Like, you know what? It ain't working here. Gone. Teams are showing, you know what? Doesn't work. We're making changes. The Jets had one of the worst offenses in the history of football, that it was beyond inept. Like, no, dude, we'll make some subtle changes because Aaron Rodgers is coming back. This is bigger than Aaron Rodgers, dude. If your two offensive linemen don't know who to block on a week in and week out basis, it's a problem. If you're not going to give Dwayne Brown or Mekhi Becton help on a week-to-week basis, your quarterback's going to get killed. This is fundamental football. That's not going to change. You're bringing that same guy back. That's crazy. That's madness, dude. I get the whole Rodgers factor, but there's this notion that Rodgers can only play with Hackett. You know what? Rodgers played with other coaches, dude. He's a very smart quarterback. He can adjust. He'll be quite fine.
Yeah, I was literally just about to say that. It's like, oh, well, Rodgers is friends with Hackett. When you watch Rodgers in press conferences and interviews, like he comes across as like a thinker. Like he puts a lot of thought into what he says and his decisions and whatnot. He doesn't really strike me as the type of guy to say, hey, Aaron, like, who do you want your OC to be? I don't know. Yep. I think he has to look at 2023 and say, you know what, like me and Hackett are boys. We're cool, but we need somebody else in the room that can help lift me up, help lift the other players up. Because, like, we have to ask the question too, why did Rodgers leave Green Bay? Yep. In my opinion, one of the reasons was because he had to do everything. He had a good offensive line, but he was constantly making wide receivers. He was constantly bailing Green Bay out. He never really had occasionally he would have a great defense, but it wasn't really like a guarantee. Yep. I think that was one of the whole, that was one of the draws of coming to the Jets. It's like, the whole, whatever it was, contingent that flew out to Cali to go meet him. It was like, oh yeah, we're going to sell you on the Jets. We're going to sell you on why you should come here. And a part of that, which is, by the way, the same exact thing that Saleh said to Zach Wilson on draft night, which is we're going to lift you up. We're going to put you in a position to have success, not just do the same exact thing, but at a worse, clip than Green Bay, where it's, oh no, you're going to have to change Hackett's plays at the line of scrimmage and basically be an on-field coach. You're going to have to get the ball out quickly to make wide receivers better. You're going to have to make the O-line better. Yep. You're going to have to throw perfect passes to make the wide receivers better. It's like, at what point do you look yourself in the mirror if you're Hackett, if you're Downing, Keith Carter, Saleh too, and just say, like, what are we doing here? Like, we're putting and look, Josh Allen with the Bills, Pat Mahomes with the Chiefs. Like, yeah, teams take liberties, right? The Bills don't really have much wide receiver depth, really at all. The Chiefs don't really have much wide receiver depth. The Ravens don't really have, like, these teams understand that, if you're paying your quarterback a ton of money, and these guys are really, really good, most cases they're mobile as well, they can make up for a lot of different areas. But, again, if you're the New York Jets, like, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, if Rodgers is not playing, we are historically bad.
Yep.
That is an embarrassment. We're not coaching high school football where there's no pressure, there's not much, backlash if we don't do well. You can't just give the ball to the senior quarterback and just say, yo, you got to make up for everybody. Like, this is the NFL. First round pick after first round pick after 7 first round picks made by Joe Douglas.
Yep.
What was it? 4 or 5 different draft classes, all these different free agents, $300+ million spent. And it's like, we can't even put together a competent team without Aaron Rodgers. Are you kidding me? Like, I want the organization to look themselves in the mirror. And it's just super frustrating.
Yeah. And the thing is too, it's like, and we keep talking about it, but it's like, all right, they had a plan. They had a plan for 2023. Halfway through the season, the plan wasn't working on so many different levels, minus Aaron Rodgers getting hurt. They literally had to get him back from California to bring leadership to the building because the team was falling apart in the sideline because the coaching staff has no leadership. The coaching staff isn't holding anybody accountable. You saw it, physical aggravation. Like, you saw all this stuff, and you're like, what are we doing? He had to come back and quiet him down. So right there, you had questions about Saleh and Hackett right there. And now it's like, all right, so you had a plan that didn't work. You have to pivot. And the Jets like to give this this perception that everything is fine. We're going to be fine. Don't you guys worry about it. The problem is we've seen this all before, and we know bad football. We know red flags, and we've seen them before. I mean, they're there, right? So they're trying to act like it's not a big deal. And then they go out, not a big deal to you probably, but on his birthday, dude, they don't even wish him a happy birthday. like the Jets are like social media darlings. They like to promote everything. So now everybody's like, is Saleh and get fired? Is he not? They add more fuel to the fire, but not even putting a little nonsense happy birthday coach message out there, right? Like, they do dumb things all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, even in the article and look, I'm not saying that everything in the article is 100% true and we got to take everything as fact, but I do think it was interesting that I think it was the point being made about Saleh, being angry about the Zach Wilson story coming out. Yep. We had the whole phone situation, but then a step further, there was a part where he supposedly complained or was upset about the Giants not getting bad publicity.
Yeah.
It's the Giants falling apart, but everybody's ragging on the Jets. Who even cares?
Bro, win games.
Who even cares what the media says? If I'm Saleh, I'm looking at the New York Jets saying, this is about us. I don't care about any other team out there. As long as we take care of business on Sunday, we do what we have to do, we're going to win a lot of football games. We'll be fine. But the fact is, we're not doing that. So I just don't understand the obsession with headlines and, oh, well, this guy is saying that, or I don't want to.
Bro, he was texting Joe Benigno. Like, so if you don't want headlines, you want the media talking about you, don't be good friends with a guy that's the loudmouth of WFAN that's going to release all your stories anyway. The best way to avoid negative press is win football games. Don't be this hard-ass coach in Hard Knocks, like your bravado, all this and that. When the games and you start losing, you're a zombie on the sidelines with no emotion whatsoever. Saleh came off like a complete fraud this year. A complete fraud. He's a great coach when they're winning. He jump up and down, do the Quincy Williams dance. They start losing, he's head down. And the problem I have is he was hired as a CEO type of head coach, right? He oversees the offense, oversees the defense. He doesn't have a play sheet in his hand. There's not one point in the game does he walk over to the offensive line and be like, guys, listen, pick this up, do there. He never leaves the sideline and talk to his players. You see every coach do. They literally walk up the sideline. Hey, whatever they specialize in, go do that. But if you're a CEO, don't have to worry about play calls, dude. Hey, man, go talk to Mekhi Becton. What do you need help with? How can we figure things out, dude? They don't make adjustments. I think he is so far in over his head at this point. And now you head into a year where it's like truly a win now. This is Super Bowl or bust or championship game or bust kind of year. And it's hard to have any faith because you saw so many problems with it, right? Where do you even start with this offense? You say, okay, listen, the offensive line is the biggest problem. Joe Douglas has failed for how many years now? 4 years, 5 years, failing with the other line. So now you start. The left tackle is going to be who? Becton's going to be gone. We could agree with that, right? So it's going to be, do you go free agent left tackle, which a lot of them are older with miles on their tires and injury concerns? Or do you say, you know what, maybe we'll sign a mid-tier guy in free agency and then go number 10 pick, boom, here we go here. Or like, how do you what do you do?
Man, it sucks because it's like so many acquisitions just have not worked out for the Jets, right? Free agents and drafts and draft picks.
Yep.
So the way I'm kind of approaching it is more so from a fan, or if I'm like putting myself in the shoes of like Woody, where it's like, this is my team, or, my favorite team here. I'm not just all in for 2024. And if we don't win, like I'm not selling my soul. I'm not selling out completely, spending every penny on trying to win this season, because there's been rumors that Joe Douglas and, co might do that to save their job.
But they have to. Do that, dude. They're not going to get. Listen, I agree with you. Like, that's my biggest concern about going. Sorry, I mean to cut you off, but that's that's my biggest concern right now. Is you have a general manager that's desperate, a head coach that's desperate to win this year, because they're going to be gone next year. Do you honestly think they're going to make moves like, you know what, this guy's a young guy with some upside. Maybe 2 years from now he's going to contribute? No, I would be shocked if they take that approach. They're the guys that can play now, win now. I would be, and that's a problem, dude, because if it doesn't work out next year, you're going to be stuck with a mess.
God, I think if I was, it's tough because like, I'm not even going to say Joe Douglas. If I was Woody Johnson, my plan is we're going to be signing 2 tackles and we're going to be drafting 1 at 10. Okay. I don't want to enter the draft with blinders on, right? Let's just hypothetically say, oh, Marvin Harrison's on the board. Okay, you probably take him then.
Yep.
But I am 95% tackle unless somebody crazy falls.
Yep.
Right. That's my mindset. Why am I kind of entering the draft? Because like with this restrictive mindset, it's because Douglas has failed in so many different areas. I mean, you look at the draft picks. We don't have a ton of youth at the position, or the top guys have not worked out. You look at the free agents, Billy Turner, Dwayne Brown, these guys haven't worked out. You look at the successful free agents that were brought in, they were let go, right? They were just allowed to walk. In George Fent, who had a good season, Morgan Moses had a good season.
Yep.
Actually, in the case of Moses, has had 2 pretty good seasons.
Yes. Yep.
So, I feel good about AVT. I feel good about Tittman. But like Lakin's $18 million. Yep. Left tackle, we don't know. Right tackle, we don't know. And then the main issue for me is we don't know. The starters are one issue. Yep. Are we really going to go out, pay like Tyron Smith a ton of money and say he misses 5 games? Well, what's the plan then? Or, what if he has some freak injury? You have to ask these questions if you're a general manager of an NFL team. And I know it sounds like redundant or like super simple, but the reason why I keep saying it is because it just doesn't seem like the Jets do that whatsoever. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to bank on Mekhi Becton coming off of 2 season-ending injuries. We're going to bank on Dwayne Brown coming off a season-ending injury. We're going to bank on AVT coming off a season-ending injury. We're going to bank on Rodgers staying healthy all season. And then when he gets hurt, we don't know what to do.
So then, so with the offensive line, like just say left tackle, like, are you looking to get your starting left tackle in the draft in the first round? Like I see the Tyron Smith, I see all the names, but there's 2 things you have a problem with. First of all, they're all old. They're also going to be highly coveted, where it's not like the Jets are the only team in the NFL that needs offensive line help. Everybody needs offensive line help. So you got to find an offensive lineman that's going to want to come here and going to pay well, but also is going to be your starter. Like, are you going to find your starter in free agency, or are you going to go, you know what? Maybe we'll sign Bakhtiari, who I know all the injury concerns. You have Carter Warren, whatever he is, and say maybe we draft and just see what happens in the first round?
No. So for me, it's like I'm getting one of the top guys in free agency.
One of the top
I don't care what it takes. So whether that's Tyron Smith, whether that's, he's not really a top guy, but a Jonah Williams.
Yep.
Onwenu from New England.
You like him a lot.
I do. Yeah. I admittedly, I do feel like he will be back with the Patriots, but as of today, right, February 6th, he's still, no tag or anything like that. One for sure starter. And then I'm signing a depth piece, a swing tackle, James Hurst from the New Orleans Saints. We've been talking about him for a year and a half, right, as a potential trade target. Why? Because he can play left tackle, left guard, right guard, or right tackle. And he can do it okay. He's not the best. He's not a top 10 guy or anything like that, but he would be cheap. He would be versatile, and he can play on either side of the football. So depending on how the draft goes, right? Because if we end up with Fuaga, awesome, starting right tackle, but what if we signed a starting right tackle?
Yeah.
And we didn't add any depth pieces. We still have a massive hole at left tackle with the first, waves of free agency over and the draft. So now what are we going to trade for somebody, pay a veteran? I mean, that was the same exact predicament with Dwayne Brown, where we had to overpay for a veteran in the
100%.
summer.
Yep.
So that's kind of my way of thinking. I'm signing a starter for sure.
Yep.
One of the top guys, and then I'm getting in that backup swing tackle, and then I'm going to let the draft play out how it plays out. If Fashanu falls, great, we're going to select him. If it's Fuaga at 10, awesome. If hypothetically Alt's off the board, all three guys are off the board, then you're going to take the next best one, or you're going to try to trade down.
That's the problem. That's the problem. If that's what happens, the top three off the board, then you start getting nervous. You're like, well, then it's going to be a receiver, because that means a receiver drop. Assuming that 3 quarterbacks go, 3 linemen, it's going to be, could have a top receiver there. Or then do you start saying, we talked about this last time, but like offensive line is a priority for everybody. But if if Alt's gone, if Fashanu's gone, you're like, all right, and Bowers is sitting there at you. Do you say, you know what? The Jets desperately need playmakers. Desperately. Wide receiver need help. Running back, you need a backup. Tight end would be great. Addition to Conklin. Would you say, hey, you know what? We take a shot because this is about Rodgers and winning this year. Another playmaker, a dynamic guy that could be, great, not say good this year, great next year for 2 years of Rodgers. Would you consider that if the top 3 linemen are gone?
I mean, I would consider it. But the thing is, I'm not the GM. And I think if Joe Douglas is sitting there and Bowers is on the board, he is going to be in heavy, heavy consideration. I mean, we were talking about it last time.
Yep.
If Joe Douglas was considering Michael Mayer, who ended up being a second-round pick at 15.
Yeah.
And we had Conklin, we had Uzama, we had Ruckert on the roster. He's definitely going to be in, and this is before, this was, it's not like we had the perfect offensive line going into last season, right? We still had a bunch of question marks all over the place. I mean, every Jet fan, I feel like almost every Jet fan wanted Broderick Jones.
Yep.
Right. And that you can maybe look at that as another blunder on JD moving back from 13 to 15. I know Jones isn't the top tackle in football, but he's a pretty damn good one, especially in run blocking. So, if you're Douglas and Bowers is like generational, I think he will consider him for sure. I think he will.
Now, going back to the offensive line, so we need a left tackle. Tomlinson's going to be interesting. I think he's got to be a restructure candidate, right? Like, you can't keep him at his current contract. There's no way, right? You got to either say release him or restructure,
or you ask him to take a pay cut.
Yeah. So then you have that. Now, the question I have for you is, we were talking about kind of moving guys around. Would you bring back McGovern to play center, move Tippmann to guard, and then AVT out the tackle? Would you do that, or be like, you know what? Tippmann's our anchor at center. He played good at the end of the season. Let's have him here for the next 10 years. Let's not screw around with him. And kind of bring McGovern back as a backup.
Oh, God, I think it's an option for sure. I think if I was running the team, I would not do that. I think I would just play Tippmann at center, the position where he dominated in college with, the position that he was drafted to be, the position where I felt like he looked pretty good last season. I don't want to mess a young guy's trajectory up. I'm not saying at guard he would be horrible or anything, but that's just kind of my take on it. Yep. AVT is a different story though, because he's looked good at really good at multiple positions. I mean, I think for me, I would probably, like I said, I would probably sign one of the top tackles, whoever that is, right? If you get Tyron Smith, you get Tyron Smith. If you get Onwenu, you get Onwenu. And then you're going to be drafting another one at 10. And then you're going to be signing a swing guy, somebody who can play on either side if one gets hurt. At guard, AVT at right, Tippmann at center, and then at left guard, I'm asking Lakin to take a massive pay cut. If he doesn't want to do that, I would I don't like the whole restructuring thing, because we keep on restructuring deals.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's not like we're looking at like a 10-year window with Rodgers. I don't want to be a young rebuilding football team with tons of dead money all over the place. So I would probably just I would maybe look into restructuring just his cap hit.
Yeah.
And then if if he's not down for that, then just release him and then just take the money and invest it in like a lower end mid-tier starter.
No,
I mean,
it's fair.
dude, $18 million for a guard that's not playing like
Yep.
average football is a concern.
Yeah, and also having a left tackle next to him not playing well doesn't help anything either. Like you have, it's like it's like you're just adding to the problem. Now, offensive line, huge problem. Then you got to add playmakers. Obviously, Lazard, disappointment. Cobb will probably be gone. You traded away Hardman. You have Brownlee's nice, Gibson's nice, but you need legitimate guys behind Garrett Wilson in case he goes down. Now, a lot of people, first like, oh, we got to get T. Higgins, we got to get Michael Pittman, we got to get Mike Evans. But for me, as a cynical Jet fan, I have this funny feeling a lot of these guys aren't going to be available, dude. They're going to stay where they're at because maybe T. Higgins may sneak away, but I think Pittman stays. I think Evans stays. So then so now it comes down to maybe like Higgins and Calvin Ridley, where I think they're all going to have a pretty good market. How aggressive are you to go get a big name, top flight receiver? Are you willing to spend the Jets tax? Because, in terms of winning stability and long-term success, you can't really guarantee any of that because Aaron Rodgers is probably going to be here max 2 years. So if T. Higgins wants a 5-year deal, all right, I got 2 years with him, but who's after him? So how do the Jets handle that?
Well, like the problem with some of these top end wide receivers is they're going to have a big market. Yep. Right. And whenever you have a big market, the chances like you don't just make a decision within the first 30 minutes. So, if you have an offer out on the table, you can't, it kind of restricts you. Right. Like, especially if we're talking top dollar for a T. Higgins or something with Mike Evans, you can't just like have a sweet offer out on the table and just like wait 2 days for him to make a decision and everybody else is getting scooped up.
Yep.
So I think the two receivers that I would target like at the top of my list, number one, Calvin Ridley. Yep. A bit more expensive than the second option, but the second option is Tyler Boyd, who I think would be a humongous upgrade over Randall Cobb in the slot. He's a veteran. He's seen highs. He's seen lows. He's consistent. He plays. Never really any sort of negatives. You don't have to worry about anything off the field or anything like that. I think Tyler Boyd makes a ton of sense.
I do too.
And I also believe he would put pressure on defenses to cover over the middle of the field, which would free up Wilson on the outside. Yep. And hypothetically free up Lazard on the other side to make some plays with Rodgers. But Tyler Boyd and Calvin Ridley, to me, in my opinion, we have to sign at least one playmaking wide receiver, and then we have to draft another. So I'm thinking like that with that round 3 pick, somebody could come in and hopefully make some noise as well.
Now, are there any receivers that we talked about this last time? Any receivers that you'd say, you know what, let's try to trade for somebody because say Ridley goes quick, Higgins is gone, these guys are gone. We're like, what? That market, dries up pretty quick. But you know what? We got to go to Plan B. I love Cortland Sutton. Maybe he doesn't want to come play with Hackett. I have no idea. But we talked about him. Keenan Allen, I guess, is staying now there. But would you try the trade market? Maybe try to lure somebody out? And everybody's like, dude, that's crazy. It's not really crazy because look at all the receivers that have been traded over the last 3 years. All big names have moved places, so it can't happen. But will the Jets get creative and will they want to give up those draft resources?
I mean, dude, it's tough because it's like when you talk about trading for a top-end wide receiver, like a difference maker, chances are you're going to have to pay him a lot, right, financially. Yep. And then you're going to have to give away some solid assets, right? Like you look at the Bills gave up a first for Stephon Diggs years ago. Yep. However, I mean, the Jets were in on Tyreek Hill, but look at what the Dolphins ended up giving him.
Yeah.
Like you look at what some of these the top end wide receivers are going for in the trade market. Adams was a 1 and a 2. Like the Jets don't have a second round pick. I'm not trading a 10th overall pick.
Nope.
So it's like, are you going to be trading a future first round pick? That's tough. It's a tough sell. If you're a team out there and you want to move on from a wide receiver, for whatever reason, financial, whatever the case is, what would you accept? A high second round pick this year or a first round pick like in 2025? So it's kind of up in the air but the thing is with the trade market though too, with free agency, there's a lot of good wide receivers, man. Like I'm seeing Pittman in the chat.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of Hollywood Brown. I think he would add a dynamic to the Jets offense, a deep game, which is something that we just don't have. We don't have a lot of speed. We don't really have a lot of creativity. I think Hollywood Brown would come in and, tick all 3 of those boxes. And he wouldn't be super, super expensive like the others. But if you're trading for a wide receiver, I'm just trying to think of one that you could probably get for like relatively cheap, where we're not giving up 10, we're not giving up a future first round pick, and you're, I don't know, like Deontay Johnson from Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh's like win now.
Yeah, I don't think that.
New OC coming in, Arthur Smith. I'm assuming he's going to want to keep, as much talent as possible.
What do you think about
Hopkins from Tennessee? But he's getting paid a lot.
He didn't want to play at Rodgers. he turned the Jets down last time. Now, what do you think about? I know, I like the Boyd idea a lot. Boyd, draft a guy. What do you think about Beckham, who's not going to get nowhere near as much as he got from the Ravens, which was ludicrous? What if he takes half of that and says, you know what, I'll come to 1 year at the Jets, $7 million. Would you do something like that?
Not for $7 million, in my opinion. Just too. I just don't know if he moves the needle all that much for $7 million. But I would thinking about the Jets offense rolling out next season with Beckham and Wilson on the same field at the same time. Yeah, we're better than last year for sure. Right. But $7 million is a lot of money to invest in a receiver who, in my opinion, is kind of trending downwards.
Yep.
I think if you ask, the bulk of the Ravens fans, like, hey, do you want him back? Or, was it worth it? They would probably say no. And I don't want to be in a situation to where, where we bring Odell in, we spend the money to go get him, and a couple, weeks into the season or a month, 2 months into the season, we're like, man, we can really use some wide receiver depth.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, no, 100%. No, we pretty much agree on all that. Now, the most pivotal position that we've talked about endlessly, I think, for the last 6 months is the backup quarterback position, which is just driven us. I think my liver's half dead because of that. But I think obviously Joe Douglas realizes he got to go get somebody. Now the question is, who is it going to be?
Now he realizes.
Now he realizes after he wasted a season, he realizes that when we'll let that go. But you get this feeling based on how the Jets are handling their coaching staff that it may be Ryan Tannehill, because we have every freaking Titans coach here at this point, except for Vrabel, who I wish we had. So do you see,
right.
do you line up the things like that where Tannehill won't threaten Rodgers where he wants to play? He wants to win. Would you do that? Or do you think Tannehill says, you know what, I want to go somewhere, maybe a chance to start, to be like that kind of like that stopgap guy until go to Washington or wherever?
Yeah, I think when it comes to Tannehill, he's going to this is probably it for him to potentially be like a day one starter. Yep. I think Pittsburgh is the perfect spot for him, where he would come in as a veteran. He's worked with Arthur Smith in the past.
Good point.
I think he's better than Pickett. He's better than Trubisky, who I actually think he's a free agent. So I think Tannehill in Pittsburgh makes a lot of sense. He's been a game manager before. When I look at backup QB though, but I guess in regards to to the Jets, there's a lot of Titans coaches, but I think Tannehill would be the top end backup quarterback out in the open market. So I think it might be a tough sell, if Pittsburgh's saying, hey, you could come in and start, or Atlanta, hey, you could come in and start, New England, same deal. And the Jets are like, no, you're the for sure backup. You're not unseating Rodgers at all unless he gets hurt. And we're going to pay you like a backup.
Yep.
We're not going to pay you like a starter. So that's the only caveat. But hey, if he's open to come, join the green and white, I will take him in a heartbeat. I think Tyrod Taylor is a really interesting option. Yeah. Somebody who just come in, take care of the football, not lose the game for you, which is, something I feel like a lot of Jets fans have been talking about with Zach Wilson, right? Can we just not, can Wilson just be a game manager? But I think Jacoby Brissett would be freaking awesome.
I want him this year. Yeah, I mean, those are all the guys. But I think you want a guy that's smart. I think also you want a mobile guy too. I think the NFL is kind of going where you need a guy that can run the ball a little bit too, make plays. I like all those guys, but it's got to be paramount. And I don't want Joe Douglas to get cheap here. Like if it costs a couple extra $1 million to get that guy, get it done. Because again, win now, but it's like you can't wash your season down with Rodgers, back a quarterback, and then some guy you're going to draft and sit there and just watch it all fall apart again. So spend the money on him. So you go from backup quarterback, an interesting guy, which this situation could go ahead. No, go ahead.
Before we move on, I just want to get your thoughts on one quarterback out there. I don't think the Jets will do it because no. I don't think the Jets will do it because of Hackett, but and maybe the skill set between starter and backup. But Marcus Mariota,
I like him actually. I like him. He runs around. He's smart. He can manage the game. Dude, and he won't cost a lot. I wouldn't mind that at all. Dude. You could have won with him this year. I wouldn't mind him at all. I mean, I'd probably like Brissett ahead of him, You know, like there's so many guys who like I love Minshew. I wanted Minshew this year. That didn't
Oh
happen.
yeah, it's another one.
You know, but I wanted him badly. But you know what? He may go back to Indianapolis and try to start again. Like, you know what? Let's have a competition and go toe to toe with Richardson because he won that team over. You know, but that's the kind of guy you want, though. I don't have no problem with Mariota, to be honest with you. Now, there's no Justin Fields is not happening at all. Not trading for him. But what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? This situation could have been avoided. They could have signed him last year in the offseason. They didn't. They let him play out. And now it's like the whole Bryce Huff thing is driving everybody crazy because it looks like it's pretty much a foregone conclusion. He's gone. He's going to become a free agent. Jets aren't tagging him. He's going to go to the highest bidder, and it's not going to be the Jets. How do you feel about that?
I mean,
and before we do that, bring back James Morgan?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Chris Streveler? No?
Well, I mean, Streveler at least had some, people liked him, great teammate, hard worker. You could throw in at least a couple different packages for Streveler, kind of like Taysom Hill. But no, man, with Bryce Huff, I think it's just, here we are again where we're talking about another homegrown Jets player going to leave the door, going to head out the door. And it sucks because I like Bryce Huff. I think he's trending upwards. He's had success in two different styles of system, 3-4, 4-3. Obviously coming off the best season of his career. I just, I don't want to be that guy, but like tons of Jets fans were screaming, extend Huff a year and a half ago, and we didn't. And so here we are where now his stock is at like an all-time high.
Yeah.
If you want to, bring him back, you're going to have to pay top dollar. But at least I'll say this for the Jets. It's not like O-line or receiver. Like if Huff does leave, we have Jermaine Johnson. We have a first-round pick in Will McDonald. I mean, those two starting edge rushers alone are first-round picks on cheap rookie deals. Behind them, Michael Clemens, John Franklin Myers, solid depth pieces. And we haven't even hit free agency or the draft yet. So we can go out and maybe select somebody in the mid rounds or sign a veteran or, claim somebody who doesn't get, doesn't make another team out there. I think we'll be fine at edge, but it definitely sucks that Huff, will be gone.
Now, another spot on defense.
Maybe will be gone.
Yeah, I think he's gone, dude. He's even talking about it. Like, I want to get paid. He deserves it. Like, this could have been avoided. Like, when Joe Douglas was proactive with John Franklin Myers, he could have done the same thing with Huff and probably got him for cheaper than it is now and kept him in the fold. Like, Saleh likes pass rushers. He likes to have, like, like you keep platooning guys in and out, rotating them. You had the guy. Now you're putting a lot more expectation on McDonald to produce because Lawson's going to be gone. Huff's going to be gone. So now it's like the solid draft from the pass rusher at some point because he got to replace him. You know about how these guys operate. And the other spot on defense is I think you need a run stopper, dude. I think when Al Woods went out, you saw a big stop off, and that was kind of like a Band-Aid guy for them. When Jefferson got hurt, you saw it too. Like, how do you think they addressed that? Did they maybe try to find a guy in the draft or maybe like just go free agency for that?
I honestly want both players back. That's how I would do it. I mean, we brought him in on pretty cheap contracts, and Quentin Jefferson's coming off the best season of his career, pass rushing wise. So I would love to have both players back. And Solomon Thomas too is another guy who I felt like had an underrated year.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then like the only other thing on defense where it's like I think this whole offseason is all about the offense, dude. Like just stack up the offense, fix all your problems. The thing is safety though, where I think is Chuck Clark? They could probably try to bring him back. He's not under contract, I don't think, is he?
I don't believe so. No.
So you want to bring back Ashton Davis, who's been great on special teams and actually emerging. Tony Adams, an emerging star. Jordan Whitehead, they signed a big contract, took a restructure, played okay. Like, what do you do at safety?
See, that's the position where I just don't want the Jets to overlook it. I'm not saying go out and pay somebody, top dollar or anything like that. But by the way, I saw Jamal Adams post a little Jets picture before. It's kind of weird and random, but
no, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you.
I also don't think I can't really envision him in the solid system either.
No,
having a ton of success. I think the reason why he was so good, well, at the time he was a really good safety, but in the Todd Bowles, Greg Williams style, he really as a drop down, making plays close to the line of scrimmage, he's a real knack for the football. But whatever. I don't think he's coming back. I just don't want the Jets to sleep on the position, and then we're almost seeing a repeat of Saleh's first year, where we're constantly getting beat over the top because we just didn't have any safety talent.
Yeah, that's definitely a concern. And you figure the secondary you feel comfortable with. So overall, it's like Defense, you figure you believe in the scheme, you believe in Ulbrich, that they can hold their own. It's fine everything on offense. Special teams, you got to bring back Zerline. You got to bring back Morstead. I mean, they both had great years. So you look at that. So overall, it's like the Jets have a lot of holes. Now, would you consider running back, a backup running back to Breece Hall? I think you need one. You know, I like Izzy, nice guy, but probably a third running back at this point. He didn't really show a lot. Would you spend any money on like a veteran running back, or do you say, you know what, draft one in the later rounds?
I think I would. I think I probably would, but I would let the draft go by first. I don't think I'm going to be signing like a David Montgomery type of player where it's like a multi-year, you know, first couple of days of free agency. I don't think I'm doing that. But see who's kind of around after the draft.
Yeah.
Maybe you can land. I mean, because the Jets have had success with like they've been able to find guys to you know, take snaps in like the late rounds or like claiming guys off waivers and whatnot. Like I think of like Bam Knight, undrafted free agent, like he was out there making plays. Yep. Ty Johnson was another guy who's freaking making plays for the Bills in the playoffs. Breece Hall is going to be taking like the majority of that. Like he's going to be the workhorse. Izzy's going to be there as well. You know, Michael Carter's obviously now gone, but yeah, I think I would prefer to have a veteran, but not one of these top end guys where I'm paying like $4 or $5 million to.
I always like Cordell Patterson with the Falcons, but that never happened. He's so versatile, running back, you know, returner, receiver. Like I love a guy like that, just because it doesn't mention your offense. Now you look at just overall the Jets team. Do you see any surprise cuts? Do you see the Jets making, like we talked about Tomlinson? There's not really anything to really stare out. Like, you know, if they cut this guy, you can save like $15 million. Will anything surprise us going into free agency?
I think it's tough because we are like win now. Yeah. Like you look at like the big cap hits, it's like CJ Mosley, Laken Tomlinson, I guess would probably be the biggest name and maybe financial benefit. But I think if we draft Bowers, Conklin.
Oof, I like Conklin.
I do too. I would much rather have Conklin than Uzama, but Uzama's contract is restructured. So, you know, are we really going to pay Bowers, Conklin, Ruckert, and then Uzama to be off the team?
Yeah.
And Conklin, you would be paying him. Not only would you be paying the 4 running backs in that scenario, but Conklin's role would be diminished significantly if you're taking a freaking tight end at 10. You know what I mean?
No, I completely agree. Now, going back to the draft real quick, I was going to ask this before I forgot. No, I forgot. Would you be in a situation where there's a guy in the draft in the first round that you absolutely love, that like, you know what, I'm trading up for him? You say, you know what, if it means going up 2 spots to get my guy, is there a guy in the first round in this draft this year that you'd be like, you know what, if he's within 2 picks to the Jets, I'm going up to get him?
Nah.
Really?
I just don't like. We know how much it takes to move up in the draft. I just don't want, like, if Joe Alt, I guess, is at like 8 or 9. Yeah, Oscar, like Joe Alt, like if he's there, you know, maybe. But if it's like, if they're asking for a future 2, this year's 3rd, you know, late round pick, I just don't. I think I would just rather hang on to the picks. But then I guess you could push back at me and say, well, Douglas he's not the best drafter in the mid rounds anyway. Right. So just get rid of the picks. He could just probably mess them up. So
now the one thing, because you like study all the players for the draft, like your draft insight's really cool. Like I know not to be dangerous, so I'll just drive you crazy. But how much of a drop off do you think there is from the top 2 offensive linemen to the 3rd, to the 4th, to the 5th? Because that's my fear, is that every team needs them. So you think Alt's going to be gone? I think Fasano's going to be gone. Are you okay with that? We're like, you know what? There's not enough drop off where I still feel comfortable, or do you say, you know what? Maybe I pivot here because they're all in the same group. I can get better value later on and go in a different direction in the first round.
Oh man, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't want to, you know, come across as like extremely negative, but I feel like probably like the first 5 to 6 tackles are all starters right now on the Jets. I mean, yeah, the top 2, Fashanu, Alt, Fuaga, I think is a starter. Tyler Guyton, I think is a starter. Morgan from Arizona, Mims from Georgia. I think all those guys right now, if you draft any of those guys, they would come in and be an upgrade over who we currently have and who's now. Look, if we draft like a Tyron Smith and we add a couple pieces through free agency, then I don't know. Mm-hmm. But just looking at the roster, the current setup of the roster, you know, comparing those guys to like Max Mitchell, Carter Warren, those, and even what we had last year, like Becton and Dwayne Brown, I would take all those guys. So,
but now, so you're comfortable doing that in the first round? Is there any scenario where you wait to the third round, or maybe go from the third round, try to trap into the second round to get somebody to address your offensive lineman? Like, would you take that route? Like, all right, just say in theory, at 10, you take Bowers, whatever. But then you say, you know what, we're going to trade up from the third round into the second to get one of those tackles. Would you be cool with that approach? You'd be like, you know what, I want my guy in the first round. Let's not play these games.
I'm cool with either. I guess if we draft Bowers, but we move up to round 2 and there's a plan in place, like, okay, this guy, maybe not going into the draft with that approach. Like, all right, this is what we're going to do. Even though we have no idea how the board's going to fall. But if like we get to the end of round 1, right, night concludes, day 2 starts, a couple picks go by, 10, 15 picks later into the second round, like somebody's on the board and you pick up the phone and a team's willing to move down, in exchange for like R3 and like a future 3 or something. Oh yeah, I would do that.
Now, is there any situation where you go receiver in the first round? Because a lot of guys out there, I mean, I guess it kind of depends on who goes. If there's a run offensive lineman, if there's a run on quarterbacks, guys are going to fall to you. Would there be a receiver at 10 that would kind of tempt your interest? Be like, you know what? Instead of going Bowers, I go receiver and do the same thing where I can move up and get my offensive lineman.
It's tough because I like so many wide receivers, but it's like we're just so bad on the offensive line. We just can't figure anything out there, including with the coaching staff too.
That's true.
I just don't, like, for example, like if Malik Neighbors is there, it's going to be hard to say no, in my opinion. But the thing is with wide receivers, like think about like the names we talked about for the free agent tackles.
Yep.
Like Tyron Smith, Onwenu, Jonah Williams, Trent Brown, maybe.
Yeah.
For wide receiver, just in this like video alone, we talked about like Mike Evans, Michael Pittman, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, trading for Adams, trading for Sutton, maybe Judy, maybe Deontay Johnson, Calvin Ridley, Tyler. Like the list is super long. And even like the mid-tier wide receivers, I feel like would come in and help this football team too, like the DJ Charks of the world.
Yeah.
I'm not like super high on Gabe Davis from Buffalo, but he's another name out there.
Yep.
Hollywood Brown, so I feel like there's just so many free agent wide receivers that like you can probably sign one of those guys, sign 1 or 2 of those guys. And then just go offensive lineman just because, offensive lineman at 10, just because it's so slim in the free agent market.
Now, do you think the Jets are going to have problems signing free agents? I know they're going to be aggressive. Everybody knows, but there is this, the uncertainty with the coach on a hot seat, general manager on a hot seat. The uncertainty around Aaron Rodgers. Is he going to play the 2 years, 1 year? Do you think the Jets are going to have any problems or money talks? Like, you know what? We're going to spend it. We'll get you in here. Aaron Rodgers is going to call you, be your best friend. Like, how do you think that's going to work out?
I think it's going to be both. I think the Rodgers thing definitely has, merit to it. But if we had multiple, first off, Joe Douglas hasn't really shown the ability to close deals pretty effectively.
Yeah.
So that's one. And then number 2, like just last year alone, right? There were so many opportunities where a free agent would like have a visit lined up or he would have a contract offer, like Orlando Brown.
Yep.
Chose the Bengals over the Jets, even though the Jets offered him more money.
Yep.
Who else? Calais Campbell.
Yep. Fletcher Cox.
Falcons. Yep. Fletcher Cox. Odell. I mean, that's 4 veteran players in one offseason that literally picked the other team over the Jets for whatever reason. So that was before the Hackett problems. That was before, the question marks and the drama and the circus and everything like that, before the Rodgers injury. I think it might be a little tough in that regard.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to outspend people. I think they're going to have to go above and beyond. Like kind of how the Ravens went and blew the doors off Odell Beckham. Jets got to do the same thing with whoever they want, whoever the guy they really want. And you can't, it's like at this point, you can't get mad because they're desperate. Like they got to find a way to win with Aaron Rodgers here. They have really no choice. So I guess, go ahead.
Yeah, no, real quick. I don't know if I can click on comments here. I don't think I can.
Which one you got?
So Hawk at 754.
Yep.
He said JD is famous for not overpaying free agents. And we're now going to essentially have to overpay.
Yep.
That's totally, you look at all these different deals that Douglas has like laid out, like Corey Davis and, I mean, I guess Lake and Tomlinson at the time was a bit of an overpay, but no, he's spot on. Like I've personally seen like tons of reports and rumors like Douglas has his numbers on certain guys and he won't budge, he won't go higher and stuff like that. So now we're in a position where Douglas is like he might literally be forced to go above and beyond with every single offer out there.
Well, that's what it was. He had a reputation of always playing hardball. Like he has like that hard stance where guys like, you know what, I'm out. It may work in some of the trade offers, but in free agency, it's like, all right, I'll go somewhere else. I really don't care. You're still the Jets. I mean, it's like, look, you know, like money talks at this point, and it's a concern. Like I'm curious to see who the first person is. Like when the tampering period opens up, who is the first person they go after? I'm guessing offensive lineman. I mean, that's my guess. I mean, but it's got to be, dude. And they got to be like the whole Rex Ryan thing. When Rex Ryan was like on Bart Scott's door waiting for him at like midnight. Like, here I am. Let's talk business. I think the Jets have got to do that. And I think it's got to be with Aaron Rodgers in tow. But listen, man, believe in me. Believe in this. We got this. Don't believe all the nonsense in the media and all this other stuff. Like, we got something good brewing here because you got to do something, dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Rodgers needs to be, you know, a tool in this whole thing. Like he
100%.
needs to be active, not just send a text here or there, but like fly out, make the trips. Like I want the same level of urgency that Douglas and Saleh had when trying to go get Rodgers in this free agent window.
No, I agree. Jonah Williams, the guy you talked about before. I think Bakhtiari will obviously be an option as a depth guy. If you guys have any questions for Ian, now is your time. Because, dude, every time we come do streams, they're like, bro, JetsCentral, man, he's got to come on here to answer some questions. They thought you didn't want to stream at me. I'm like, dude, we'll stream.
Dude, I'm down to stream whenever.
So if you got questions for Ian, fire them out real quick. And then the most important question, man, Super Bowl weekend. Who do you got?
So I want San Fran because I do like Brock Purdy, but I think it's going to be KC.
I think so too. I think the defense is going to make the big difference. You know, just like the 49er defense has all the names, but I think the Kansas City defense is just doing a great job. Spagnuolo's doing an awesome job. I think they make the difference. I think Purdy's got a tendency to make mistakes. He's kind of careless with the ball. I like Purdy a lot. And then, you know, it's like the whole Sam Darnold thing will be funny too if he gets like get in the game, but it's going to be, I'm looking forward to it though. Now, how far do you think the Jets are away from being the Kansas City Chiefs or being that close to, you know, these, we saw the contenders, you saw the Ravens, you saw all these teams. How far away are the Jets realistically from these teams?
If the Jets have like Vrabel as their head coach, and I just, it's so tough with like the offensive staff, in my opinion. That's just like, I have such a hard time getting behind that. Yeah. And look, even if Rodgers comes in and we get double-digit wins next season and Rodgers looks great, I'm still not, you know, like going to be giving a ton of credit. I'm looking at some of these comments. I'm still not going to be giving a ton of credit to Hack and these guys because, like you said before, dude, like Rodgers, he's been fine with literally every single coach he's ever had.
No, it's true. Now, So I miss Ian's old place. Looked like he was breaking news videos from a bomb shelter. I miss the cat walking around too, and letting on the bed. And so where did a cat?
They're right there, right behind me. They keep scratching the screen though, so I keep looking over there.
Let's see what else we got here. There's some really good questions.
Man, I've moved around like a ton this past season, so I wonder which what bomb shelter he's talking about.
Oh, it's so funny. The parking lot. You do like ones in the car. I'm like, this guy's always making videos in the car. You're breaking content everywhere.
I love doing videos in the car is my favorite because it's just like, I don't know, everything feels I don't know, because I've always lived with people. So whenever I'm doing videos, I just have to like keep it down or kind of, you know, adjust for other people's, you know, schedules and stuff like that. But when I'm in the car, I'm just by myself. And normally when I'm in the car, it's like breaking news. Or there's something that's just like on my mind. I just really want to, you know, talk about. So
we got a very, very important question. Should Oscar the Grouch start drinking now or after the free agency period?
Man, we're going to see what happens. If the Jets just drop the ball in free agency, I think there's going to be we think that social media with the Jets is bad now. Like if there's, you know, if free agents are going off the board, Pittman signs, Ridley signs, Onwenu signs, and the Jets are just sitting on their hands not doing anything, I think people are going to be freaking out.
You just did some car videos. I saw one. Oh, yeah.
I'll do like a car video like once or twice a week.
You need a JetsCentral news van.
That'd be pretty cool.
That's a good idea. It's marketing. That's a really good idea for you.
drive around with it. Yeah, the logo on the outside.
Will Salah be fired next week?
I just don't think so, man. Like I think if you wanted to fire Salah, you have to fire Salah after the season because, yeah, you can get rid of him now. You can get rid of Hackett and whatnot, but who's going to replace him?
Vrabel.
Is Vrabel really going to be looking at the Jets as an attractive job?
Nope.
I have to play with Aaron Rodgers. I have to, work with Joe Douglas. We have O-line question marks. We have to do accelerated draft and free agent prep. I have to analyze the team's strengths and weaknesses. I think if anything, Vrabel's coming next year.
Now, one thing about my channel that I love, I will guarantee you this. We have more Muppets on our channel than your channel. I guarantee that.
I've noticed that.
You have more subscribers. I have more Muppets, my friend. So
I was gonna ask like if there was a story behind that.
We got Big Bird in here too. Should Elmo prepare for a heartbreak now or later?
It's tough. I'm asking myself for this the same thing.
Then there was a good one from Chris that I saw. Hold on one second. This is about the owner. The owner isn't going to sell, but don't you and Tyson think that he should be on the hot seat? I mean, he's meddling and playing the victim. I'll say this. Woody Johnson will never sell because he makes way too much money, but a lot of the problems start with him. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you look at like some of the best ownership in football. It's like the guys that are hands off, the guys that will pay top dollar for the football guys and just let them do their thing.
Yeah, I agree. What's up, sad New York guy? So, Ian, first of all, thank you for your time. This is our weekly segment, and it's fun that we're doing on this channel live so we can get all these different little insight from our Muppets and stuff. So for those that don't know you, which I think at this point is ridiculous, how do they find you, man?
Yeah, just run a YouTube channel called JetsCentral. Same thing as Tyson.
Yep. And every week we do a show. Usually on Monday or Tuesday, we do it on your channel. We hang out and talk, and it's been fun, man. I enjoy it. It's like a whole different take because you're like the calm, professional, intelligent guy. And I just bother you with like questions to try and make you think more. So it's not bad.
No, dude, I don't feel like my channel is professional at all. I literally feel like it's like extremely unprofessional.
It says Ian goes from smiling to look at doom back to smiling again.
Yeah, well, I think about Hackett and them, and then it just pisses me off. So
the one question I always wanted to know. Now we did some streams before in the past. Like we would just do like I'd have you on like last year to preview stuff, but all like. So when we started doing shows together, what'd you expect from me, man? Did you expect like yelling and cursing and chaos, or what were you expecting? Because we didn't really know what we were doing.
No, so yeah, because I remember I think I reached out to you because I wanted to do a weekly show, but I didn't want to do it by myself. And your channel and your content have always been super raw, just like a real diehard fan. Acting, I feel like how you do outside of the channel.
100%.
You guys are, you guys keep it real. You guys are just yourselves. You're not like in this, like trying to like, do things like selling tons of products and whatnot and everything like that.
Yep.
I just respected that. I respected you guys, respected your channel. And I felt like it would be really cool to kind of just have two diehard fans talk about what's going on with the team, good or bad, and not just like make stuff up or BS or like clickbait stuff or any like weird stuff like that. So it's just like two real fans talking about something that they love.
Now, there was a couple of times this year that I know you were nervous because the Jets had a really bad loss. And when the show started, you could tell, dude, I was ready to just go off the rails. Did you get on call? Like, were you ever like, oh man, this could be one of these shows where it's going to be like, it was just crazy.
No, because I think that's kind of the point of why I wanted to do these. Cause it's like, not necessarily like live reactions, but it's like nobody is paying you or me to be a fan of this team. It's just like that's what it is. Even if we try to change teams, right? Like I'm a big fan of Antonio Pierce, right, with the Raiders. If I tried to be a Raiders fan, I just couldn't do it. Like it's just like physically impossible for me to like. I can like a team, but I can't just like unseat the Jets as my favorite team, no matter how much suffering they put us through every single year. So no, I like that. Yeah, I think it's cool, like the whole passion and everything like that, so.
Yeah, no, the one thing I like about the most is like you talked about, like there's no narratives. It's not like, all right, we got to worry about you want to get subscribers, you want to get likes, you want to get views. We're both just being honest. And like for a time, like a period of time, we were like, oh, you guys are both so negative and both of this, but like, dude, the Jets lost like 4 in a row. Like, bro, I can't sell you positivity when we're literally seeing putrid football or incompetence. But when they played well, like, you know what, this is a good day. This is what you find the positives. And I like that, where it's like you can go both sides and not be so desperate to be like, well, no, we got to get viewers, man. Because I honestly hate that stuff.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, we don't do any like preparation for the show. No notes or no like talking points. Literally just like I'll send you the stream link like 2 minutes before and just click it and we're like, all right, like let's go.
Like I did tonight. I did 2 before.
Yeah.
Oh, the cat?
Yeah, let him out.
Oh, he said, I don't know about all of you. Part of my inner Jets fan died this season.
Yeah, I was talking to my buddy Manny earlier about that. Literally like a couple hours before the stream started.
Woody Johnson watches both you guys. Yeah, I'm sure he does. I'm sure they all do at this point. Well, Ian, it's been over an hour. I don't know how it was an hour already, but I thank you, my friend. Obviously, follow JetsCentral. We do this every week. Usually it's on his channel. We just do the same thing. And the one of the more important thing is thank you for all the support too, dude, because we started doing these. We got all kinds of feedback and support. And then, like, dude, it's been overwhelming. So definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you guys. It's been super cool. You know, because I know too, like long form content isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you drop like an hour long video or like this, like an hour long live stream and people are hanging out, like it means the world. You know, I think it's totally cool. Totally cool.
So thank you guys for joining us. Stay tuned to his channel. We'll be there all time, every week, all season, off season, throughout the season. We're doing all kinds of stuff. So we appreciate it. Have a good night and enjoy the Super Bowl.
Thanks, guys.